Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. Now, you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of anywhere else? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They don't even read the comments. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So whether you agree or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Take with Stephen A. and Shannon talking about, will Luka win the MVP? Will he surpass, Jokic? It seems like it's been bouncing around for a while. The beginning, it was like Embiid. Then he got injured. And then it was pretty much seen as a foregone conclusion that it's like, okay, Jokic is going to win. And then like on the more recent side, it was SGA that people were really saying, hey, man, they're balling out. He's balling out. They should go to him. And then now Luka has kind of leapfrogged, and it's really interesting. I'm not so sure. Like, I don't get lost too much in who's going to win the MVP or who's deserving of the MVP. Like, LeBron has kind of said it before, where it's like, is this the best player in the league at the moment or the most important player to their team? Like, what are we talking about here? So it is interesting when you look at someone like a Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or Shaq or, even an Iverson, like any of these other players in the past, Steph Curry, like when they only have like a handful of MVPs, it is always weird because it's like, how does Michael Jordan not have like 15 MVPs, LeBron James 20 MVPs? So I personally don't get too lost into it. So I'm curious to see what these guys have to say. And then we'll take a listen and break it down from there.
Minus 800. Luka Doncic is at plus 550, while Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is 16 to 1.
Shai Gilgeous
Giannis and Jason Tatum are the only other players on
Always
the board at 100 to 1. All right, Shannon, I'm going to start with you on this one. I kind of feel like I know where you're going. Do you think that Jokic should be the MVP?
I do. The consistency, and I think sometimes, Stephen A., you've been a voter for this, and sometimes the guide numbers are just so consistent across the board, like Jordan. I mean, right. after you see him average 33, 5, and 5 for like 6 years in a row, you're like, what's so special about it? Or Giannis doing what he's doing, or LeBron when he in his prime was doing what he was doing. I think Nikola Jokic is going to win the MVP his third in about 5 to 6 years, and I think Luka, if Luka won it, I wouldn't be disappointed if Luka won it, because I don't know if anybody's noticed it, but he's always been great. But Stephen A., he's taking his play up to another, if you can imagine that, he's taking his play up to another level. So I wouldn't be disappointed if Luka won it, but I think Nikola is going to win it. Jokic's going to win it.
Shannon, I'm going to do you a favor, man. I'm going to give you the last word on this subject while I throw this by you, okay? Let me see if I can change your mind. We recognize the greatness of the reigning defending champion as is Nikola Jokic and the NBA Finals MVP. We understand it, right?
Yes.
My choice right now is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's the #1 seed in the West as we speak. Mm-hmm. He's played 71 of 74 games this year, Shannon.
Wow.
He's third in the NBA, averaging 30.3 behind Luka and Giannis only. He's had an NBA high 50 games of 30 or more points this season. He leads the league in assists. He's shooting a career-high 53.9% from the field, 58% on two-point shots, 36.5% from three-point range, okay? And by the way, Shannon, in 4 games against Denver, they're 3-1. He's averaging 26, 5, and 5. Floor is yours.
Right. Well,
before I listen to, I want to just ask you guys this question. Why do you think it's because OKC is a smaller market team? Like, why do you think SGA is not wildly popular? Because what Stephen A. just mapped out is legit. I mean, like, that is a incredibly convincing argument for his greatness, for him being the MVP. And it's kind of like, one, how could you not give him the MVP based off of that? And two, right, because he's the best record in the West, putting up the best stats, I mean, like, it's not like he's just kind of there. Like, he is a big reason why they are where they are. And it's like, why is he not super popular? Like, what is it? And it's pretty crazy. And on the flip side, the most recent dynasty that we had in basketball was the Golden State Warriors, and this idea when the Golden State Warriors were when they were in their true dynasty run, the idea of them like not giving an MVP, right? Because Steph won back-to-back MVPs. It's like this idea of like, how could you not give him the MVP? And in the same, like, it's like if we are in the Denver Nuggets dynasty, it's like, how could you not give Jokic the MVP? So the way it looks like to me is, if you give Jokic the MVP and they don't win a championship, it'll look silly. Honestly, that's my perspective. It'll look silly. Not to say that Jokic isn't deserving an MVP or that Jokic isn't he's not elite, that he's not one of the best players to do it. I fully love Jokic's game. But it would look silly. And obviously, you have to pick the MVP before that. Now, right, especially if in the situation where, let's say, OKC ends up winning or just making to the finals, whatever. Now, on the flip side, if the Nuggets win the championship and Jokic doesn't get the MVP, and I don't mean the finals MVP, I'm talking about the league MVP, that also looks silly. It also looks dumb because you're just like, what are you doing? They're clearly the best team. He's clearly the best player on the best team. They're unstoppable. They won in 5 games against the whoever against the East. Like, he's so dominant. He won the finals MVP. How did he not get the league MVP? And so this is an interesting MVP race. I'm trying to think of when Steph won his first time, right? He won the MVP, the year that they won, what was it, 73 games or whatever it was. And then he set the record. He had hit over 400 threes, like something outrageous. I remember watching that live. And I think that was the year that he won the unanimous MVP. But I'm trying to think, did he win the MVP the year before that, the first time that he won the NBA final, the championship against the Cavaliers? I honestly forget. I'm not sure if the other year he won the MVP was with Kevin Durant. But it's just it's such an interesting idea as to like, why is people not ranting and raving about SGA? Like, is it something about his game? Is it that it's OKC? Because Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook weren't doing anything fancy, but they skyrocketed to fame, although they did have a relatively early NBA Finals appearance against also the LeBron James. So that also now magnified, everything as well. And also Kevin Durant is a bigger person, and Russell Westbrook is a bigger personality. So that may have helped them kind of transcend the smaller market of an OKC. Kevin Durant, especially at the time, was so unique. You just didn't see a player at that height do what he can. You still don't really, right? We have some players that can kind of do it, but not like KD. There's really no one like KD. So it's just interesting to me as to like, why is SGA not wildly popular, right? Why are people not becoming obsessed with him, talking about him, saying they can win, they can win, they can win? When right there, it looks like, okay, see, they're just like, yeah, he's a great player, doing great things. They're pretty young. No one like really has them winning. Outside of people that are big fans of theirs, people are not saying, this is OKC's year, this is OKC's year. No one's really saying that. So, yeah, pretty interesting to me.
I think he leads the league in steals.
Yes, he does. I said that.
Halliburton leads the league in assists. You know what, Stephen A? Look, I think the thing is that a lot of times we see voters, they vote, okay, best player on the best team. And that kind of how it goes, and you've heard that before. And you know what? It's not like I'm gonna file a petition that said Nikola Jokic should have been the MVP if Shai Gilgeous wins. But I just think, given what he's done, Jokic, and what he's been able to do, and the efficiency, he's shooting almost 60% from the floor, Stephen A. And on a nightly basis, he's giving you these numbers.
He's not really countering Stephen A. about SGA.
We take him for granted now, Stephen A. Because he does it with such frequency.
But you're talking about him, and I get that. But we're looking at a championship team, championship coach, championship personnel surrounding them.
Look at me agreeing with Stephen A.
We didn't see this from Oklahoma City.
No.
The number one seed.
No. Yeah.
And this brother right here, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, leading the way. He's special. He's special.
Yeah. I think it might be close, but I don't know if they go. Your honest assessment, who do you think's going to win? If you had to say right now, who do you think's going to win?
I think they'll give it to Jokic. I would.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why the clip got all distorted like that, but yeah, it's a weird MVP year. I mean, Embiid was playing at a historic level and then obviously got injured. And Denver has obviously just been quietly winning. It seems like a lot of these teams this season, there's no true splash. And I say that both, strategically as well as just unironically. Like, again, the last team that truly splashed and blew everyone away was the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry, right? They just burst onto the scene where people just became obsessed with not only Steph Curry, but then Golden State Warriors. You saw Warriors jerseys everywhere. You would have thought that the Warriors were the Lakers at that point. I mean, I even lived in California during that whole dynastic run, both before and after. And I'm living in Southern California, like I'm living in Lakers country and even Clippers country for that matter. And you're seeing Golden State Warriors everywhere and, all of that. And then when I was also back on the East Coast seeing Golden State, jerseys, and that was always like surreal because I'd be in a grocery store and I see a Golden State jersey and I'd be like, am I back west right now? Like, where am I? It would always be kind of disorienting. And then it would also be weird to see like Philly jerseys because I'd be like, where are we? I'm not in, I'm not in the West Coast anymore. But and so it's just like OKC is in first place. They're in first place and they're a great young team and a unique team with unique players. SGA is, I don't want to say he's necessarily like the most unique player because at this point we've seen versions of SGA. We never saw a version of a Steph Curry making all those threes and doing it the way he did. But they have a Chet Holmgren who's, just also like a physical freak of nature in that regard. And I wonder if it's because maybe they haven't just won yet. Like for the Golden State Warriors, it was perfect because they burst onto the scene. Steph Curry just came out the gate and people were losing their minds. Because of all the shots that he was doing. So he had all these massive moments, these huge threes doing this. And then the playoffs continued to be the most exciting, right? Like Steph was making some of the most outrageous threes. I just remember the commentators were just, at that point it was so new and everybody was just like, I don't believe what I'm seeing. How is this guy just running around in circles, catching the ball, fading away, making a three, and just going in and then dancing and running back down the court? It was just like unbelievable. And then the icing on the cake was, and they won. Right? If they lost, I still think Steph and all that still would have been super popular, but it definitely would have hurt the momentum. But they won. And not only did they win, they beat the LeBron James. And then the following year, they won, what was it, like 15 games in a row? They opened up the season. I forget how many games it was. I think it was more than that. I think they ended up losing to the Celtics, I forget, or the Grizzlies. And, then they won. They had the most regular season wins in NBA history, obviously. And Steph hit 400 threes. So it was just like the whole time you're watching this was like, oh, my God, can Steph break the 3-point record as well as can they beat the Jordan, the Michael Jordan's Bulls record? So it was like eyes were glued. I mean, that season, I literally watched 95% of the games. I mean, I didn't have DVR or anything at that time, so it was either watched it or streamed it live or not. So I mean, like I was watching all of those games, and it was like you could feel that. You could feel the momentum, the energy, and every time you did put on like First Take or The Herd or any of these shows, that's all they were talking about. Like that was like the only story that mattered in the NBA. Then of course they lost, which was huge and devastating. But then they brought Kevin Durant, which now added more, prestige and legend and mythology to it, right? It was just like, oh my God, this team's insane. The pictures were released showing Kevin Durant in that jersey, and you're just like, this is insane. Whether you think it was a good move or not, it was still all eyes on Golden State Warriors, and it just continued to have them grow. And then, of course, they won back-to-back and would have three-peated if KD didn't get injured. We're not seeing that same level of excitement really with any other team right now. You had a chance for the the Milwaukee Bucks to be able to do that, and they didn't. Giannis has done nothing. Giannis won the championship. It was like, oh my God, is Giannis ascending? No, he's not. Then it was, the Denver Nuggets, and it was like Denver Nuggets. Oh my God, they're winning. Look at that. They just won their championship, and now this season they've been playing well, and they're winning, and they were in first place and all of that. But it's like doesn't have that same buzz. Maybe because they weren't on a historic pace, right? They weren't now set up to break the Warriors record. Since Jokic kind of does a little bit of everything. Does his game, Is his game not as exciting to the casual fan? The casual fan doesn't love a great pass, right? Like behind the back pass or a no look pass. I'm saying casual fan. But my mom, I always use my mom as an example. She can watch Steph make a three from 1,000 yards away, and she doesn't need to know anything about basketball, and just knows that is wild. That is really cool. And so it's very interesting. And I think even if Denver wins again, you're still not seeing that same overwhelming, overbearing feeling of, oh my God, this is just the most popular team in the NBA right now. Like, who the heck can stop them? They are a juggernaut. You don't get that sense. So I wonder if OKC can win, and if SGA wins the MVP, and it's like this is this whole big moment. I wonder if then they can be, I don't want to say the next Golden State Warriors, but just this another team for both big fans and casual fans to just kind of build a frenzy around. Because as of right now, we just don't have that. It's not the Bucks. It's not the Lakers. It's not the Warriors. It's not OKC. It's not Minnesota. It's not Denver. It's no one, not the Clippers. So I'm just curious. And so much of that affects the MVP voting as well. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Please let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. Who do you think should be the MVP? Who do you think, what do you think about what I was saying about OKC and Denver about, just levels of popularity? And why do you think SGA is not just over the top popular as, say, what became of Steph Curry? And again, as I said before, we are building an amazing community here, and it's really turning into something truly special, and I really would love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility. Thank you so much, and see you next time.